Great Mouse Detective is Disney's animated version of Sherlock Holmes, but with mice. It's exactly the same as Sherlock Holmes, but, kind of diseased. The movie takes place in jolly old London town in 1897, a time period most notable for not having Hot Pockets. I mean, no one in this movie could even imagine such a thing. Really makes you think. The movie begins in the toy shop of Hiram Flaversham, voiced by Alan Young, who is most notable for being the voice of Scrooge McDuck.
But I haven't given you your present yet. Oh, no peeking now.
And only Scrooge McDuck. I'm glad Flaversham isn't in this too much because it is very distracting. I'm hearing a duck, but my eyes are seeing a mouse. And Flaversham is celebrating the birthday of his daughter Olivia when a one-legged bat named Fidget breaks in and kidnaps him. Olivia wanders the streets looking for the great mouse detective Basil of Baker Street when she meets Dr. David Q. Dawson, who offers to help find Basil at 221 Baker Street, which is also the address of Sherlock Holmes. And Basil is supposed to be a genius, but his house is filled with inventions that have no discernible purpose. He has a machine that smokes cigars and pipes while he's not there. Is that so your house smells like smoke without you having to do any of the work? Basil arrives and he's so preoccupied with his work that he barely notices his guests. And this work that so consumes him involves stacking pillows on a chair and firing a gun at them point blank. But it doesn't give him the results he wants and he spirals into a fugue state. This is not the environment a young child should be around. A manic depressive with access to firearms is a very unsafe place. But in all honesty, we all have stories from our childhood where we're randomly in some stranger's house, just witnessing all sorts of weird and insane shit. One time near our neighborhood, me and my buddy somehow found ourselves in this random house. I don't know who these people were, but we were feeding worms to the pet piranhas they had in their living room, and they all freaked out because it was November, and one of their 4 pit bulls fell into the pool, and the owner of the house, we'll call him Chet, because, probably, he grabs a giant hailstone that they had kept in their freezer as a conversation starter and chucked it at the other dogs to keep them from jumping in also. My buddy and I just kind of looked at each other and were like, all right, let's bounce. Who the hell were those people? I swear the majority of my childhood was ending up in random houses that I would feel unsafe to be in as an adult. But basically back then, if you told me you had a dog and or a Super Nintendo, I would just go into your house. I think the only reason I'm still alive today is because I was a super annoying kid. They'd all be like, well, I was going to molest him, but he won't shut the hell up about how the Snorks were just a ripoff of the Smurfs. So what are some situations you found yourselves in because you were an extremely unaware and oblivious child? Basil snaps out of his dissociative state when Olivia mentions the bat with a peg leg, whom Basil knows is the henchman of his arch nemesis, the evil Professor Ratigan. Ratigan is an evil genius voiced by the incomparable Vincent Price, who brought his elegance and theatricality to the role of the nefarious rodent.
Quite an ingenious scheme, eh, Flabbersham? And aren't you proud to be a part of it?
And Ratigan has kidnapped Flaversham and is making him create a robot for him. And I mentioned this in my Pinocchio video, but what the hell was the last movie where a character was smoking? And not only did they smoke in Disney movies, but they made it look so cool. Always blowing smoke rings. He's got that long cigarette stick. And Ratigan is a very elegant creature and his crimes are sophisticated and cultured, befitting a rat of his debonair stature.
Even meaner, you made it. Worse than the widows and orphans you drowned.
Oh, that's not elegant at all. That's the kind of thing some 2-bit crack dealer would do in retaliation for a dispute over $20. Basil, Dawson, and Olivia get attacked by Fidget and follow his tracks in the hope that it will lead them to Ratigan. But first they must find Toby, who is Sherlock Holmes' bloodhound. Oh yeah, Sherlock Holmes does exist in this universe, and Basil has essentially copied all of his style and mannerisms. Not unlike a mouse-talented Mr. Ripley. And he lives under Sherlock's house. If I was going to completely copy someone's identity, I would at least move 2 towns over. To North jolly old London town. They catch up to Fidget, but Fidget manages to kidnap Olivia and takes her back to Ratigan. And Ratigan tells Flaversham to finish his invention or he'll hurt Olivia. And so Basil and Dawson dress up as a pimp and his doughy pirate hooker to infiltrate the pub near where he believes Ratigan's hideout is. But when they inquire about Ratigan, no one wants to talk, and then Dawson gets drunk. Oh, Dawson, you are hornier than Jiminy Cricket. And he causes a bar fight, and in the middle of the melee, Basil spots Fidget and follows him underground into the sewer. They reach the lair, but we learn that it was all a setup to lure Basil there so Ratigan could kill him. Okay, Vincent, now for this scene,
yes?
you finally got your nemesis right where you want him.
Yes, quite.
So this is Ratigan's big, gloating moment.
Fantastic.
Okay, so really just gonna give it your all.
But alas, my dear Basil, it appears as though your time is almost at an end. The greatest question in this life is...
Vincent, you have to stay by the microphone, bud.
The fraction of my being envies you as you're about to solve the greatest mystery known to man.
Vincent, this isn't the
Many
theater.
cultures
You
have
don't
their
need to
own
work the
version of
stage.
the afterlife. The Hindus believe in reincarnation, but I feel that it's too romantic.
Seriously, Vincent, the microphone's barely picking you up at all, but you gotta come back over here.
Your curtain call. How was that? I can go more theatrical if you like.
Oh, no. Oh, dear God, no. We're good. Ratigan sets up a Rube Goldberg-esque contraption to kill Basil and Dawson. And as a final bit of torture, he makes Basil listen to his demo tape before he dies.
You followed me, I followed you.
That's what they pump into compounds during hostage situations.
You will remember to smile for the camera, won't you?
Ew. And Ratigan's doing that thing, where like a serial killer takes pictures of his victims so he can pleasure himself to them later. I gotta say, this is a little bit too much, even for 80s Disney. And so with Basil incapacitated, Ratigan, who is probably just rock hard by this point, the sick freak, commences with his dastardly scheme. Ratigan infiltrates Buckingham Palace to kill the Queen. Ratigan infiltrates the mouse version of Buckingham Palace to kill the Mouse Queen. And I've got to say, all of mouse culture is just a poor imitation of human culture. And maybe it's best that it does come crumbling down. I mean, what authority can a Mouse Queen really have? They're just playing pretend at this point. So Ratigan's plan involves kidnapping the Queen and replacing her with an exact toy replica created by Flaversham. And back at Ratigan's lair, Basil is all but given up.
Basil? Oh, how could I have been so blind? We're about to be horribly splatted, and all you can do is lie there feeling sorry for yourself.
Like, he doesn't care about dying because he is so upset that he was made to look stupid. I know where he's coming from. I once referred to a Rhodes Scholar as a rogue scholar, and believe me, I would have gladly had my neck snapped in a mousetrap in that moment. I still have nightmares about it. Dawson yells at him, and Basil manages to snap out of it and freeze them. So the Toy Queen gives a speech and announces Ratigan as her new royal consort, and Ratigan says that he is now the ruler of the Mouse Kingdom, but Basil shows up and rescues the Queen and foils Ratigan's plot. But Ratigan grabs Olivia and takes off in a blimp and flies past the famous... what the hell is that? The Big Ben Bridge? Yes. The Big Ben Bridge, or the Triple B as they call it in jolly old London town. And then they crash into the... London clock? The hell's all this stuff called? And we get our final showdown between Basil and Ratigan. They fall into the hand of the clock, and Ratigan is destroying Basil, but the bell tolls, sending Ratigan plummeting to the ground.
Oh, but alas, how the mighty have fallen. My final revenge foisted by my greatest enemy, sending Mouth London's guardian angel to his final resting place. But what's this? There is another name for a fallen angel, Lucifer. Oh, what cruel irony that only in my final moments do I realize that I was the devil that haunted people's nightmares. Oh, what a cruel end, what a wasted life. If only I could turn back the clock and right some of the wrongs I have wrought on this city. Oh, the pain!
So Basil of Baker Street stopped the evil Ratigan, saved the Queen, and reunited Olivia with her father. But he still does that weird alpha male power move by never getting her name right.
Bye, Basil. I'll never forget you.
Nor are you, Miss Flangerhanger.
Classic. He is so alpha.
Well, it's time I was on my way too.
I was supposed to pick up my wife at the Mouse train station 2 weeks ago. Someone else shows up with a case and they decide to team up.
As you can see, Dawson, this young lady has just arrived from the Hempstead district.
And it's painfully obvious that she caught her husband with a prostitute. And that prostitute proceeded to gut her husband and steal a very important family ring from his mutilated corpse. And my powers of deduction tell me that soon after... So that was The Great Mouse Detective. I had never seen it before, and it was... okay. But it did have Vincent Price, so right away that puts it at what? Top 10 greatest movies of all time?